evening, and welcome to Tinker, Tailor, Solder, Fry here on the Mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian Horner. I'll be your navigator for tonight. We got an Alex.
I'm just going to be the guy who's along for the ride.
Yeah, and we've got in the Crystal Gondola Paul, who is working the ones and twos.
Good evening to you too.
Perfect. And of course, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is the Let's Try program here on the Mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network, where we try to do things and often succeed, sometimes not. It's not always a guarantee, but a guarantee of a good time is on the table. We may rescind that offer halfway through, depending on how things go. But today, we've got, as you can see, some gourds that are going to be de-skinned and have their flesh minified in an artistic way. But before we talk any more about that, we have to remind you of the other big orange roundy boy that's going to come up right now. Patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. That's the service that we use to allow you to subscribe to support us throughout the year on all the things that we do. We really appreciate those of you who contribute to the Patreon, and of course those who subscribe at Twitch, become a member at YouTube, buy things at store.loadingreadyrun.com. All the ways that you can support us are ways that you can support us. Welcome to Tautology Club. I'm Ian, because I'm Ian. Alex?
They're waiting for you, gourd, in the test chamber.
Oh my god. Yeah.
That would be a really good pumpkin, actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
I don't think it's what I'm going to do.
Gourd and Freeman, yeah. I do like that.
And Freeman.
It's Halloween season right now. This is the closest Tinker Tailor that there will be to Halloween, so we got to do our annual carve of the pumpkins, and then this year, absolutely dispose of the pumpkins.
Right, yes, that's what happened last year.
Or at least encapsulate them completely, yes.
That was bad.
Normally, we like to, pumpkins have a decent shelf life, and you can carve them, and they will at least get to the next day, or maybe 2 or 3 days later, without becoming a soggy mess. Not last year. Last year, they turned into big things of fur immediately.
That's nasty.
Yeah. It was, and big ups to Ben for having to deal with that at the time.
We won't lay that on him again.
So we were talking a bit about before the show about
yeah. So you said something about like when it comes to guts.
Yes.
And I really thought you were going to say Griffith did nothing wrong.
I haven't seen that. I really should fix that one.
Seen?
I've never put Berserk into my head other than through AMVs.
It's, apparently it's quite a thing.
I hear it is a classic for a reason. Yeah. But we did some carving earlier this week on the channel on Loading Ready Live, and that was limited in, we like limiting ourselves with our art, but that was limited a little bit too much. And everyone was given their own, not their own, but everyone had one image to work off of. And that gave me an idea, because it was a negative space image, and it looked pretty cool. And I thought, like, maybe we should do that, but let's not do the same thing. So I hopped up online and I found myself a good little owl.
Nice.
That I'm going to try and replicate onto this pumpkin.
I think I'm going to do an anatomically correct pumpkin.
Which,
now that I say it aloud, makes it sound like I'm going to do a pumpkin penis.
Well, I mean, that was my follow-up question. Whose anatomy?
I mean, I'm going to do like an exposed rib cage, I think.
Okay. Just really get those pumpkin bones out there?
Yeah, but the first order of business is, this is a classic problem with pumpkins.
Right.
Is when you get one, the way it sits naturally, the high side is often the ugly side. And this one definitely, like, it's got
big old scar on there?
Yeah, like streaks. Maybe these are from vines or something. So what I'm going to do first, I think, is I'm going to find the good side, which I think is this one, and I'm going to trim the bottom so that it will sit with that on top.
Ooh. Now here's a question for you, not to make it more difficult for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you want to do an anatomical rib cage of just the ribs? Or maybe just a slightly separated ribs with a little bitty burster starting to push its way out?
I mean, if we had a gourd, that would be kind of cool.
You haven't had much luck with this particular blade
shut
in the
your
past.
That is what might be called an overqualified blade.
Yeah, that means it'll do the job really well.
That is a large...
You know what, maybe we have a bunch of tools here.
Oh yeah. Some of them more suited for.
Yeah, this will totally work. What TPI is it for a pumpkin you're supposed to use?
I do appreciate when you say it was like, I want to make an anatomically correct pumpkin carving. And then it was like, wait, a pumpkin's anatomy? Or like,
There we
what,
go. Okay,
what
so
anatomy?
Oh, that's even easier.
A little bit.
I thought you were going to go through and actually, clean the bottom out from there.
Oh, no. I'm going to cut the top off. I think I need a steeper angle, so
Okay.
we'll do this a couple more times.
I think I've told this story many times on this very stream, but I used to do a raw pumpkin as a helmet, as a costume back in high school.
Actually, these might be useful later.
I'm pretty sure walking around in pumpkin helmets is literally like...
That's one of the first loading ready run videos.
it was like the third loading ready run video we ever did.
Yep.
And when you ask, it's like, what was the video? It's exactly what it sounds like on the label.
Yep. So I'm just gonna make a couple slits in this paper here so that I can properly Mercator project this
There
owl.
we go. Okay, perfect. So that is the back. This is the front. Why the hell did we not get towels?
Oh, nearby secret bathroom. It's
Okay,
probably,
I'll go to the
just
secret
grab the roll.
The secret bathroom that the chat doesn't know about.
We call it a secret. Let's see here. So I'm going to be taking this and in the big bag of tools, of which we have one of the remaining functioning serrated blades that were used in the
I was gonna say
That is just tragic.
the general consensus among the carvers was the not being terribly impressed with those carving tools, I will say.
They're actually quite good if you're willing to use them correctly. Unfortunately, the environment of doing things 30 seconds at a time before you have to give up your tool doesn't really isn't compatible with this particular type of precision. But what I'll be using is this little piece of plastic here, which is just, all it does is it has a recessed piercing tip, and enough that it won't go all the way through the pumpkin, but you can then use that for marking out your design.
So you can poke through your paper and do the whole like...
Exactly. So yeah,
That looks like one of those things that you would use to like hold corn cobs.
tiny little corn pop cob, yeah. I'm also going to grab a little bit of tape here just to attach that to the front before it goes away. Plus, we get to do a nice little test about gaffy tape and... I was going to say gaffy tape and skin, but I need to specify...
Did you say gaffy tape?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, like they ride in single file to hide the numbers. Yeah. It's spelled the same way.
The telltale, like, screw sound of, like, Tusken Raiders.
Oh, no.
Okay, so this isn't going to look like anything just yet, but these are just, like, reference lines for me.
Ah, yes.
I don't frequently work in the medium of sculpture.
So does a pumpkin having a rib cage imply the pumpkin having other bones?
Maybe. There's the pumpkin bone.
Do you know the pumpkin bone?
Pumpkin bone's connected to the... Oh.
The gourd bone.
Ooh, I mean, the other question... Neither of us are doing it this year, I guess, but next year we should put on the list Gord Downey Jr.
God. Or Gourd and Bennett.
Gordon... Yeah, this works for a lot of people, yeah. Gordon Ramsay.
I was about to say, it's like, the gourd is raw!
Finally, I'm good fucking food. I don't know why he sounds like a 19th century villain, but
I mean, he sort of is.
that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
You
That is
lot
not
of
Gordon
tossers
Ramsay's accent.
He is not Transylvanian.
No.
that we know of.
Noted vampire Gordon Ramsay. Okay, I think this might actually work. I'll spin it around here in a
I'm
second.
gonna get a spoon.
Oh, you can use this if you like. You don't have to, but you can.
I feel like there's got to be some artist
No, I'm kidding. That actually looks
Or-
perfectly fine.
or somebody who does like a whole series of celebrity portraits on pumpkins.
There's gotta
all,
be.
all named different various pumpkin or gourd or whatever puns.
And they've got to be like one of those people that it's in the local newspaper every year. Like, what's this guy's pumpkin gonna be? We'll find out on page B3.
And it'll be like, yeah, it'll be there's a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, there was a thing out at the governor's lieutenant governor's mansion where they had like a pumpkin, they had a whole bunch of, it was like a pumpkin garden or whatever, right? And it was like I went there with my parents. I was like, oh, that's a cool thing. Only realizing after we got there and that like, of course they weren't like real pumpkins.
Oh, that's.
They were like fake. And it's like, I get it, right? You want it to last more than like a day or two or a week or whatever. So they were like, they were very well carved, but they were like some sort of standardized styrofoam thing.
I mean, for a competition, that's kind of what you want, though, right?
Yeah. But I mean, in the medium of the pumpkin is sort of the interesting part. Otherwise, it's just like carving a sphere or whatever.
Hey, so good news, this is definitely washable marker. Bad news, it's washing off on me.
Oof. Yeah. No,
Oh, well.
I can confirm that is washable. That was the same marker I used for my eye roundel for my Clockwork Orange cosplay on Saturday.
It is a child's marker. Where's the xylene?
Now, Ian, is this a specific pumpkin stencil, or is this is just a picture of this is just a like black and white picture of an owl?
Just a black and white picture of an owl that I found on image.duckduckgo.com.
Have you
Cleared the
Evalu-
copyright? Absolutely
no?
not.
Have you evaluated to see whether it is actually like workable as a stencil? Like, is his eyes gonna fall into the pumpkin?
No, I think it'll be fine actually. It's up here. Honestly, I think it's covering the pumpkin quite nicely as it is. But the intent is going to be to just scrape away the skin of the pumpkin and scrape it quite a bit on the inside, so that enough light gets through.
So those aren't necessarily all going to be holes.
Yeah, everything black is going to be. I think what I'm going to do is that everything black will just be a skin scrape. And then what I'll do is the only thing that will actually be all the way through are the yellows of the eyes on this owl.
Okay, because I was looking, I was like, those eyes are going to fall in.
Yeah, otherwise.
If it's cut, if all the black area is cut, yeah.
See, we all learned a lot about carving negative space on Loading Ready Live.
Did we?
Yeah, I think so.
We were talking about negative space on Cantor Horses last time.
Ah. What kind of week is this for connected art?
Yeah.
So this is going to take me some time to get all of these little dots, but I think in the end it'll be worth it.
Meanwhile, just gonna raw dog it here.
Yeah, there's going to need to be, I think, some level of doggage, as you say.
Doggage.
Interpretation.
I don't got that dog covering me. Alrighty. And you are just, wow, right in there with the drywall knife.
Yep. Actually works like a hot damn.
I mean, yeah, it's,
I am going to be careful because I do have a very old injury from serrated knives.
ooh.
And carving pumpkins.
Oh,
I mean, I was noticing that hacksaw, which I myself have previously used to attempt to cut wood, and it did not work at all well.
Paul, do you know why it didn't cut wood?
Is it because it is the wrong kind of blade for
Yeah,
that?
because it's a hacksaw. Hacksaw. Okay, see? All these little teeny tiny teeth?
Look, the alternative was not cutting it at all.
Bingo.
That's true. So you can use a hacksaw in a pinch on wood. But it's,
my point being that particular saw not only is not the right blade, but is also a very old, very rusty blade.
It's been through some stuff.
Yeah.
But pumpkin is a very good medium for it.
Yes.
yeah, it doesn't put up a lot of resistance.
Thankfully, pumpkin a little bit, but more resistive than, say, a roast beef.
Did you attempt to hacksaw a roast beef at some point?
No, but it's, I mean, in terms of things that you want to get a nice clean cut on.
Well, you can
that a
hacksaw
hacksaw
frozen beef, can't you?
Oh, yes. That I was kind of actually, I was thinking as you got these slices off here, my first thought was, oh man, it's like slices of roast beef from a pumpkin. I should flip my chit so you don't keep cutting more.
You ever been to a Brazilian pumpkin house?
You know it. But, oh God, what was I talking about? Cutting frozen beef with a hacksaw, yes.
Yeah.
So this is something we've talked about on Tinker Tailor earlier, but don't think I've talked about it with you. Did you know that it is possible, but not only possible, but preferable if your goal is a juicier meat, to cook a turkey from frozen? To not defrost it at all.
A whole turkey.
And whole turkey, yes. If you get to Christmas morning and someone says, "Oh, it's ruined. We didn't defrost the turkey." No worry. You just need to make sure that you've got a good remote readable meat thermometer and a drill bit the same diameter of said meat thermometer.
Huh.
Yeah, the reason it works, you want to start cooking it very slow at, say, 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sure.
That does two things. Number one, it speeds up the defrosting process a bit. And the reason you want to speed up the defrosting process is because defrosting itself causes meat cells to burst.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why defrosting in the microwave sucks.
Exactly. So, but if you're doing that defrosting in conjunction with keeping the outer skin dry so that it crisps up, you're getting double the action there.
So do you know the secret tech for, like, what's the best way to defrost chicken?
Generally, yeah. Generally, it's you keep it vacuum sealed and throw it in cold water in your
You
sink.
got it, that's the one. Yeah.
Second only, well, no, not second only. The second place I would say would be on some sort of a conductive flat surface, like a glass top stove or piece of aluminum. Those are less good.
Yeah, cold water, change every 30 minutes.
Yep.
It's like also a good balance between like time investment and like quality of defrost.
Oh yeah. No, anything you can do to keep those, to keep the layer of meat underneath what is just defrosted from refreezing, due to the temperature
Yeah.
of the meat.
You can also,
side.
of course, like slap it really hard,
This has been evidenced,
which
yes,
defrosts and cooks it
immediately,
and burns your house down
and
and turns you into powder.
yep, and probably ignites the atmosphere in the local area.
Yeah,
Love those for you though.
cheeky little plasma as a treat.
But you've been doing some cooking recently too, haven't you?
What did I cook recently?
I can't remember.
Was it donuts?
Yes, it must have been the donuts. Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I think the problem that I encountered, okay, I go thrifting all the time, and one of the delights of thrifting is that you find all the cooking implements of yesteryear
Oh yeah.
in still usable quality sometimes. So I found a rather lovely donut dropper made in Sheffield, England in like,
Sheffield, you say?
yeah, there's a lot of stuff made in Sheffield here in Victoria. Who knew? And it was like, it's basically like an aluminum sort of tube
Oh yeah, I'm
with
familiar
like,
with the design.
you know,
yeah.
like a thing, and you press it and it drops a ring of batter.
Specifically.
so you're actually able to do proper donuts. Because like the way I feel about sort of recipes like that, there's all these things. It's like, here's how we bake donuts.
Like,
It's
well,
like-
you've done something, but it's not
like,
a donut.
Shut up. This is probably like a brief aside. The world of online recipes is a nightmare.
Oh yes.
Because it's like, I wanted to learn how to do thing. It's just like, first, here's my life story.
Yep.
And then I don't like this laundry list of characteristics about this food thing that I'm supposedly teaching you. So here's a bunch of substitutions I made that fundamentally alters what it actually is. And so you are making this travesty. I mean, it's worse in the comments where people are just like, I didn't want it to be sweet, so I didn't put in any sugar.
Why do these taste so bad?
Yeah, they came out like rocks.
I mean, yeah, the sort of like having to, because I mean, it's all about they have the the life story or the description before has become almost a trope of online recipe things, which is of course
It's not though. It just is
attempting to game the SEO algorithms and put.
Oh, is that why they do it? It's always SEO shit.
To sort of have it be longer and have more sort of keywords and
But
stuff.
yeah, I was like, I'm of the belief that if you're going to make some sort of like tasty, indulgent pastry thing, like just do it properly.
Yep.
Like I'm type 2, and my philosophy is okay, well, and my philosophy is like, I will still eat real sugar, just less of it.
Yes.
And I think that's better. Like I would much rather have, like one actual cookie made with real goddamn sugar
and it's certainly
than like
less-
a bunch of, all artificial sweeteners taste like poison to me anyway, so.
Because they are.
Yeah.
So-
I haven't found artificial sweetener that the aftertaste of them really bugs me.
It's so bad.
And a lot of them are straight up carcinogens.
Yep. So
But
it's
it-
like, okay, well just have less of it. So I think I actually went and sourced the recipe from the original packaging on the product, which I tracked down on like eBay or something. And it was like yeasty donuts, which I believe is the correct way to make like actual donuts, like real ass donuts, which are like they're yeast based and deep fried.
I'll say that they can be, yes.
Okay. I mean, maybe yeast base is not essential, but like deep fried, that's surely
absolutely
non-negotiable.
necessary.
I don't know if that's absolute. It's a certain.
We're
type,
purists here.
It's a certain type of donut.
It does
Yeah.
result in a certain not je ne sais quoi, a very specific quoi about the texture on the outside.
Yeah. So I made some, and a couple of them turned out okay, and the rest unfortunately turned into like a big oily mess. Especially the next day, because like I tried to preserve them in some saran wrap, and they just like turned into sludgy nonsense. And I was like, oh man, I have all these like crapped out donuts, which seems like terrible food waste. And I was like, what can I do with this? I made them into bread pudding,
Yeah.
and it was awesome.
That's a good use.
So I felt smart, and I wasted less food.
I do love the like very large category of they often tend to be sort of slightly old-timey style recipes of
Yep.
we've got a ton of stuff that isn't really good to eat, but it's food and we should probably figure out something to do with it.
Yeah, like some of the lingering wisdom from the war.
Yeah.
This is why. This is how I've solved my problem with bad recipes. Is starting to every search I do at a approved by me site or chef.
Yeah.
Someone who cares mostly about food science.
Yeah, you can also find some good stuff if you look back in time, but you have to be very careful because you might end up in the 70s.
Or the 60s, or really any time where they
I think
had
the
a problem
70s
going
were
on.
worse. Like, have you ever seen maybe it was just the photography, but good Lord,
They certainly had some
it's
ideas.
dire.
I strongly believe that and I don't really have any basis for this, but that the prevalence of aspic and Jello things is vastly overestimated by just looking at cookbooks at the time.
Yes.
I get the feeling that they were really pushing it, but nobody fell for it.
Yeah, like,
Or at
why were
least
they
less
pushing it though?
Less people fell for it.
It's
Maybe
like,
I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
maybe. I mean,
but
I don't know. People were on a lot of drugs. Maybe they were just like, you know what we're having for dinner tonight, honey? Jellied olives
I mean, that could be good.
and microwave Spam.
Consider also this was the time of the dirty martini.
What was the dirty martini again?
That's where you add all the lots and lots of olive juice to the martini, in addition to the alcohol.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like they would be mixing it pretty strong,
Oh yes,
so maybe you wouldn't notice.
But it's just funny that like that particular aspect of sort of 70s cooking is very like to anyone that I you know any people of sort of our generation or younger or whatever, you know that particular is like viscerally wrong.
sorry, I don't want to correct you, Paul. I believe you meant aspect of cooking.
Everyone can agree that like that was not a good
Incorrect.
thing.
That was a mistake.
And I find it hard to believe that people in the 70s were that much different. But yeah, apparently people in the chat are saying that apparently there's a documentary or something about it that apparently like it was one of these sort of big marketing pushes that didn't quite pan out.
By the Jello initiative.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where we get the food pyramid.
Like-
Man,
like
I was.
fondue probably didn't quite, you know,
It
go-
was
it didn't become quite as popular as they were hoping either.
Exactly.
so. I don't think it was quite as pervasive in Canada as it was in the States, but I was quite shook when I found out the truth about the food pyramid, which is it was not based on health or nutrition at all.
The
It was-
Egyptians didn't come up with the food pyramids.
Get out. It was entirely a marketing ploy by, was it the Department of Agriculture?
Probably. That makes sense.
So it's like, hey, how come we have so many like obese people and diabetics now? It's like, well, because you lied to them.
Well, that's, I mean, also partially the reason why we don't eat. I know I've talked about this before, but why we don't eat certain animals as meat, like rabbits, deer, and moose.
I mean, we do, just not as
Well,
much.
we do, but not as much. It's not commercially available. Is because the inspection by the FDA of those meats is not subsidized the way it is for everything else.
Man.
I thought the food pyramid. My impression was always like the food pyramid was not necessarily like. Obviously, it's the thing of it sort of being healthy. It's not necessarily like the most healthy.
I'm led
idea,
to understand that it's unbelievably unhealthy.
Our
for you.
reliance on grains specifically.
but it's also like that's what was like inexpensive for people.
Well, it wasn't that it was inexpensive.
So they
it was,
sort of wanted to encourage people to buy that stuff because that was sort of a good way to.
It's thrifty.
Because I mean, I don't even really remember what the old food pyramid was, but it was sort of like milk, or it was dairy and grains on the bottom, and then like meat and stuff at the top, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, dairy and grains like 50 servings or something ridiculous like that.
But grain is another one of those things that's highly subsidized and is, when refined to the levels it usually is, that we use in our Canadian and American societies, becomes more akin to a poison on the body than anything else, just due to its high gluten and simple sugar content.
Also, fats apparently quite good for you.
Yep.
Certain
Okay,
certain
not all,
types of fats.
hashtag not all fats.
Certain fights and in certain
I mean,
concentrations.
fights also good.
But yeah, Paul, did I talk with you about the fondue thing in the 70s?
We should have a fondue party.
Just for the chat, of course.
Please tell me. Like, I don't know what you're getting.
So you know this that like everyone had a fondue pot.
Yes.
Yep. And it was a big thing during the 70s.
Yeah.
That was the entire idea of Swiss fondue as a cultural institution.
Oh, they made it up, didn't they?
Was invented in the late 60s because they had too much of a certain type of cheese. And they wanted to promote the use of this cheese internationally. So what do? We invent something for it.
That's so funny.
And this is why I kind of side-eye the big row right now around Dragon's Den in Canada and their talk about bubble tea being
I have not heard of this.
So there was a
Bubble tea controversy.
There was a recent episode of Dragon's Den where a Quebecois couple came on. And in English, unfortunately, made their case for their new bubble tea, which they introduced as saying, everyone loves bubble tea, everyone knows bubble tea, but they're not always sure what's in it.
What?
What they meant to say is that, the ingredients are not often printed on the bottle.
Okay.
But
you get your bubble tea in a bottle?
Well, that's what they were doing, is bottling bubble tea.
Oh, okay.
But then this turned into a big row by Ken Liu. Around this about it being a form of cultural appropriation, which fair dinkum there. However, bubble tea
Oh boy.
was not invented until, would you like to take a guess?
Mid-2000s?
1988.
All right.
The boba that is used in bubble tea, the tapioca pearls, were introduced to Taiwan during the Japanese occupation.
Ooh, that's awkward.
So, yes, it is a drink that originated in Taiwan, but may not be a deep and long-running. Again, it's just another reminder that what we consider to be traditions are just things that happened within our grandparents' lifetime.
What a fucking scam. Yeah, that's
I very much approve of having bubble tea places around because I enjoy iced tea of various kinds. I do not actually like bubble tea itself. I don't like weird chewy things in my drinks.
I think it's very reasonable as a complaint.
And also, it's led to the prevalence of straws that are too wide.
The straws too
That's such
big.
a specific gripe.
Look,
No, you're not wrong. It's just funny.
there's a place that I go to sometimes, and I get delicious tea without the tapioca things. But they have all they have is the boba tea straws, and it's like I have to suck a significant amount of air out of this straw before I
See, you gotta get the grass jelly. That's where it's at.
I don't know what grass jelly is.
Okay, imagine if boba was even softer and just like goop, and didn't taste like anything.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a crunchable jelly at the bottom.
It's not crunchable. It's very soft. It's just like black, tasteless slurm.
The third option is, of course, popping boba, which is a new invention since the molecular gastronomy days, where they'll make a membrane around some juice.
Oh, neat.
And then juice comes out the inside.
They explode.
I remember seeing a sign just on a local fancy tea place, and it said, "We have the best cheese tea in town."
Ooh. They are really up to some weird stuff
And
at bubble tea places.
I have
cheese milk foam tea.
I have not yet had cheese tea, but I'm sure it's tasty.
It sounds almost like something that you would compare to pu'er.
I think
Pu'er.
Pu'er is
It's a GBZ character. Right?
It's a deeply fermented and aged Chinese tea that usually comes in a block.
it's super good.
Yeah. And it traditionally, at least my understanding, Mongolian traditionally, it's served with milk and honey in it as well.
But yeah, pu'er's it's usually it's sort of very very strong tea. It's kind of the strongest
The most
flavor-
powerful tea.
flavor, like David's tea here here in Canada does a coffee puer, which is actually really good. It's like
Interesting.
there's coffee beans in the tea bag as well,
Okay.
and the puer tea is the only thing is what they have to use to have something that's sort of strong enough in flavor to stand up to the coffee part.
So this actually pivots me quite neatly to something that I've been pursuing, which is I want to obtain a samovar, which is a...
It's a Russian.
no, it's not just Russian. It shows up in a lot of different cultures. Like it's in Slavic cultures. It's also in... Damn it, I don't remember where else it shows up. But it's like a
But
thing.
Eastern European.
Yeah, Turkish. There we go. Thank you.
Yes, yes, of course.
So it's a way of serving tea that's like very novel. So a samovar is like a large urn that would traditionally be heated with charcoal, but they have like electric ones, and it's just like a sort of like a brass or enameled reservoir of just hot water.
Yep.
And on top, underneath the sort of chimney where you'd have the charcoal, is a teapot full of very concentrated like tea concentrate. And so what you do is you have your cup and you pour a little bit of tea concentrate and then add hot water to taste.
I remember this because I remember the first time I encountered a samovar. You were there.
Really?
It was inside of the hotel we were staying at in Barkerville during RoadQuest.
I don't remember that.
Ah.
I would have to review the footage, but
I don't think it got.
okay.
I don't think it was on air, but I do remember this being the first time that you expressed a desire for a samovar.
I saw a really cool thing that it's probably a Jewish thing. It was a samovar with a wreath of bagels around it.
Oh my! Like actual bagels, not
Yeah, like
decorative?
actual bagels. And it's like, oh, it must keep them warm.
Yeah, that sounds great.
This sounds genius. This is like you get your bagel and your tea. So I saw actually a samovar today and considered buying it. Unfortunately, there was a couple things. Like it was an entire set.
Oh, okay.
So like samovar, brass tray, brass bowl, like 6 cups, spoons, saucers, tea kettle.
Dang, that would cost a pretty penny in the day.
$100.
That's a
He taught
bargain
me
right now.
So it was traditionally charcoal fired, which would make it way less useful for me
yeah.
indoors. And inside it was really corroded.
Oh.
So I'm going to think about it because like maybe that's something I could fix,
It's
but
a hell of a
it
job to restore.
was like it was gnarly in there.
Getting back to the bagel thing, that reminds me of the last food crime food crime I perpetrated. I guess it's only a crime in the sense that they don't want you to know you can do this yourself.
Yeah.
But I took went to the Walmart, bought one of their big ol' half a salmon in fillet form for $22. You know, that's normal price for salmon here. Those of you in America who get your salmon cheaper, no.
I hope at Walmart it was actually
Like a real salmon and not like...
Well, no, it was in a container that said like a big ol' half a salmon.
It's so true.
I need to go make a complaint. But took that home, cut it in half because I wasn't going to use all of it because it was a big sucker. Just brought it down to about yay size.
A big sockeye.
And measured out half and half salt and sugar. Chopped up a bunch of dill.
Okay.
And then you wrap the whole thing up. You cover it in salt and sugar mix. Cover it in plastic wrap. Stick it in your fridge for a day. After a day, flip it over, leave it again for another day.
Okay.
Take it out, wash the salt and sugar off, and then you have, my friend, it's not smoked salmon, but it is a cured salmon
interesting.
for use on bagels, should you wish, called gravlax. And that
What's
lasts.
gravlax?
Gravlax is, well, literally ground lox. Not in the sense of, ground meat down at the quarry, but underground meat. This was
weird.
not Scandinavian. Scandinavian's the region, right? Yes.
Gravlax.
They used to do this on the beaches as you covered in the salt and sugar.
What is it with Scandinavia and like putting fish underground to rot?
I mean, it's easy. It's easier than carting it back home to let it rot.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a graphic of a weapon that definitely goes against the Hague Convention. It was like a cluster bomb that was tins of surströmming. Oh, it was bad.
Yep, that's.
Well, you say that transition from like burying rotten fish to I saw a weapon. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Ian, did I tell you about that guy who had a terrible surströmming based architectural problem?
No. Did he have a surströmming slot in his bathroom that he put the cans in?
No, worse than that. It was like a guy, I think in some remote region, like probably Sweden. I don't know how or why this happened, but a corner of his like shack or hut or something had been propped up at some point with a can of surströmming, which was now bulging.
But was still structural?
Yes. So he had this terrible dilemma where it's like, my house might fall down, but I might also have a like biological event occur.
I might die.
If it ruptures.
But I might want to die.
Yeah. There's
Could he replace it with a different can?
yeah, just switch it out. It's like Indiana Jones.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, Indiana Jones, he's like thinking about it and like empties out some of the surströmming, but he's open it, so he just vomits himself to death.
I just expect it to be a can of Chef Boyardee that he's putting in there.
Okay, unfortunately the top of this is off center, but the rest of it is like
Looking good so far.
not bad. I feel like I might need a smaller knife.
Might need to go into it too with another grit.
Do you want to like have more detail in the
The inside?
in the ribs, or do you want to have like stuff inside, or like?
Well, I'm going to define these ribs some more and see where that lands me. This chisel's actually been like surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I guess I can, yeah, I don't need to keep any of the orange, so I'll just strip that off.
I do like the way you are. You're sort of filleting the edges of your.
Yeah, it's like to give it a curvature.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I was going to say, given you're the only other person in this room who knows and has the equipment to sharpen a chisel, I approve this use.
Yeah, I don't. Wait, is this my? No.
That's James's.
Ah.
Well, it's the office's, but
Yeah.
it's
So
on his. It's from his cart.
Okay. It's actually worthwhile having a shitty unsharpened chisel
Yes.
for like taking off paint and doing dumb stuff. A proper woodworking chisel has to be like sharp enough to cut God.
Yeah.
Then it's really useful. I didn't realize all these operations you can do in woodworking with a really sharp chisel, like paring, which is just like.
Yep. Would you like flat? Yes.
Yes.
I think what I'm going to do here is, rather than try and outline all of these tiny flecks here, I'm just going to outline this last large one, and then maybe use the knife itself just to gouge out individual flecks.
Gouge his eyes out.
Freehand on the bottom, because I think that might be a better use of my time now that I think
Hell,
about it.
take your pumpkin.
Which is why I brought a second version of the image.
Ooh. Here's an owl I prepared earlier.
So I'll just finish popping these in here.
Yeah. I still haven't settled on one way of sharpening stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm still bumbling my way through a bunch of various techniques, and I haven't figured out which one I like the most. It's probably going to be a combination because there's like so many different schools of how to sharpen things, and go away, shut up. Because there's like water stones and oil stones and diamond stones, and there's like all these jigs and these like super expensive wheels and shit like that. So I have a couple things. One of them that I quite enjoy and finally kind of got configured is an old Craftsman wet wheel.
Ooh.
It's like 10, maybe 12 inches. And
That's
it's a
nice
sandstone
size.
wheel that runs at very slow RPM, like 150 RPM, through a water bath.
Oh, that sounds really useful.
So it keeps heat buildup really under control because it's like
Just constantly cleaning your
Yeah.
grinding surface too.
because when you're sharpening a tool, heat is the enemy because you can screw up your temper. So that's pretty good. You just have to get the tool rest set at a
Appropriate.
good angle. And I cut out a piece of wood at a 30-degree angle that I have been using to set the tool rest, and I think I have been doing that correctly. So I think that's decent for setting a baseline kind of sharpen, and I can do like kitchen knives and stuff with it. Because like my folks get me to sharpen their kitchen knives, and I was just like, you want to give them like sharp enough to use, but not like enough to injure people.
Well, there's a certain point at which you get where a knife becomes sharp enough that it's good for one cut and then needs
Yeah, well,
rehoning
it's
or-
also just like, what are you using it for,
Yeah.
and how sharp does it have to be? I do actually want to learn how to get them like god-slaying sharp.
just start lapping your own obsidian.
Okay. Because I've seen some things like the tests sort of go. It's just like, is it sharp enough to shave with? It's like, okay, that's kind of a baseline. It's like, is it sharp enough to like slit paper, or slit paper vertically?
Yes.
Or the one that I saw, which was this blew me away. I had like a bowl of water and placed like I think it was a shiso leaf, and he just went cut it right in half. I was like,
I know I've told the story before, but I'm not sure if it was to you or not. But when I was living in Japan, there was a samurai drama that I was watching, and it was about a competition between two katana forgers.
oh boy.
And the way that they finally did the guy did his test where he looks at things and says this is good or not, and quickly does the paper. And apparently the younger one didn't like his evaluation, so he grabs both the swords and runs out to the river,
Oh, boy.
thrusts them both in the river, and then throws two lotus flowers up the
Okay.
river to let them come down and let the current
That's wild.
cut them into. And the second one didn't cut the flower, but then the man touched the top of the handle, and the flower just splits.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The Terry Pratchett Discworld book Reaper Man. Death is sharpening. At one point, he has to sharpen his scythe, and he starts using first a series of whetstones and different things, and gets finer and finer grain and stuff until he starts using pieces of fabric to do it, and uses incredibly delicate silk.
Start with burlap, go up to silk. Yeah.
Incredibly delicate silk, and he finally sharpens it by holding it up as the sun rises, and then when you see in the book Pratchett illustrates how sharp it is, that when he's using it, whenever people are talking, there's like the words that they speak are like offset from each other. Okay. He's actually cutting their words and stuff. And there's a blue aura around the blade of air molecules that get too close to the blade and get cut in half.
That's so funny.
Love that.
There's an entire kind of sort of competitive culture around ultra crazy sharp Japanese planes, like wood planes, where they hold competitions of who can cut the thinnest shaving.
And the longest run of it.
So they'll get these Japanese planes are quite different from Western planes, and I quite like them because they cut on the pull stroke, and
For one thing, they'll often do a pusher propeller in the back. Sorry.
And they're very deceptively simple looking because it's just like a square block of wood with a blade in it at an angle. Just really all you need. But there's a whole bunch of these complex angles, and there's like little subtle things like the bottom is being like let in just a tad so that it rides on a couple of raised areas and all this stuff. So they get them really sharp, so they take thinner and thinner shavings until they're like these gossamer wisps that they check with a micrometer. It's like, omoshiroi.
Love it.
It's like
Nice.
So that's coming together really quite good.
it's like a really really complicated connect the dots puzzle.
Yep.
So I think the next thing I was going to do was color in the areas I wanted to remove with this red Sharpie, just to.
That is a very good idea.
Yep. I was very sad because I was using one of my, like my big Kana plane, and it chipped.
Oh no!
Yeah, there's a little chip on the edge, and so now when you plane, it leaves a raised line. So it's like, well, shit, I gotta
Don't want that.
redo this.
I actually saw it was just like a YouTube video or something that was talking about wire cutters. And
Okay.
that the vast majority of wire cutters
Marker.
that are on the market today are terrible. Like the guy was showing like an extreme close up of the blade,
I could believe it. They're
and like after like half a dozen slicing through some copper wire, the edge of the snip blade is just totally ruined to hell. And he was saying the big difference. He actually like took some of these crappy pliers and he re-tempered the blade, like heated it up, and
cool.
then he also apparently the other big thing is they're sharpened to like a 30-degree grind or whatever, and by making it just a little bit steeper angle.
Cutting geometry is surprisingly
makes it
complicated.
like 1,000 times better.
Yeah. See, that's why I went out of my way to find a vintage pair of bolt cutters, and I found some by H.K. Porter, the guys who invented the bolt cutter.
Okay, yep, that's
So,
a
yeah.
quality.
How long after bolts were invented did bolt cutters get invented? Someone was like, well, shit. We put this thing together and now we can't get it apart.
Yeah, that's real nice. I also got a Pratt and Whitney metal punch, like a hand punch. So it's like a long pair of steel handles, and you put a die and a die stock in it. And I was testing it, and it'll knock a 1/4-inch hole in 1/8 inch mild steel, like no
boy.
problem. Like, poink! It's messed up. Lever.
Levers are nothing to be.
Yeah, give me a lever
Laugh
long
at.
enough and I'll move the earth.
Okay, just needed to reapply some eye work there so that we know where to cut things out.
So yeah, I'll actually be using that on a project that Beach has me working on.
Yes, I'm aware of, but I don't know if it's
I don't know.
public
Yeah, I
yet,
don't know.
so-
Yeah, it's like we should just keep it secret so it seems way more like interesting.
Bingo.
I was thinking, Alex,
Yep.
I love the sort of curved effect you're doing on the rib cage, but I was thinking like
Yep.
in some ways you're designing this so that it looks good in the light.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna look from the back.
Whereas normally when you do a pumpkin, like the surface color and the like, that doesn't matter because it's only designed to actually look good when it's backlit. But
I don't know.
you're doing it more in a sculptural style.
Yeah, well, I mean, I imagine that like high-end pumpkin carving is an entire subset of carving to begin with. I mean, if they are to be lit from the back, which lots of them are.
Well, that's true. That's true. The other side of the pumpkin should be the spine.
Good way to work that. You know what? I'm going to say before I
That's actually not a bad idea.
Before I start digging into this pumpkin here, we're at the top of the hour, so this makes it a great time for us to take a short break.
Sure.
We're going to swap our fluids, stretch our legs, and we'll be back with more Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry just a few minutes. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. It's spooky season, so we are in the midst of pumpkin carving, and you're deep in there.
Oh, yeah.
Alex is making an anatomically, or at least skeletally correct pumpkin.
Can you believe this is what they look like inside?
Yeah. But just like spiders. I've seen those at the dollar store.
Yeah, the bone spiders.
Yes.
Yes, we can see the inside of the pumpkin, and that's clearly not what it looks like.
No. Those are for TV pumpkins where they take out all the scary parts.
Why are they disrespecting all these animals that have proud, glorious exoskeletons of their own? They don't need an internal one. They're better than we are.
Yeah. Sorry, the Michael's bone spider is or
hilarious.
bone octopus. That's another good one.
Yeah. That said, I still do stand on the side of the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton as one of the greatest achievements of our culture.
Yeah, they kind of slap.
Yeah. But yeah, I have done nothing but poke little holes in my pumpkin that is going to tell me where I'm going to remove bits of skin. But before I remove the skin, you got to remove the top. That's loading ready law.
What? Do we have a law book?
We do sometimes. We don't talk about it much. But yeah, let's get in there. Remove the remove the cap, remove the innards, scrape it out, and then we can start de-skinning in a
Flensing.
yeah, flensing in an artful manner.
Do you not flens in an artful manner?
I mean, sometimes you just gotta.
It's difficult to concentrate on the work when they're screaming so much, but.
Pumpkin scrimshaw.
Oh.
Well, I believe that's actually Alex's
Is this pumpkin
department right now.
taxidermy? Well, I guess we don't stuff them.
No, that comes if you want to. If you're one of those people who believes that you need to be able to eat these types of pumpkins, these are decorative. You can eat them, but they are not meant or bred for eating.
It's interesting. Like Alex says, you've been going in this with the chisel and stuff. I just was thinking that, like, especially once you've taken the insides out and that kind of stuff, it's like a pumpkin, like from a materials perspective, is actually like kind of nice for like it's nice and soft, but it's like
I mean, I've seen
hard.
some remarkably well carved pumpkins,
And it's also very sort of homogeneous in terms of the inside, like the rind of the pumpkin is quite stable.
Like, I bet you could take some sort of a cast from that in a meaningful way.
I guess so. Alginate.
Yeah.
Have we done a mold making and casting installment of Tinker Tailor?
Not yet, but I have ideas.
So do I.
Cool. We should collab.
Yeah.
I mean, the last pumpkin carving stream did have a lot of mold making.
Let's get that bottom inside edge out there. I think they smell different this year.
Really? Oh, do you have another one of those paring knives?
I don't, but I am just about done with this one.
Okay.
So
Because I realized that would
There
be
you
the
go.
perfect tool. Thank you.
you're quite welcome. Where's my scoop? Big scoop 'em. Actually, I should get my welcome to this $800 a month.
Show hole.
Should probably roll up the sleeves here for this portion because we're about to get stringy.
Yes. Now, while Apple Watch is waterproof,
Is it pumpkin proof?
To a certain atmospheric level of pumpkins. What is 2,400 psi?
I'm just thinking about
pumpkins?
pumpkin delta P. Don't look up delta P. I'm serious. I'm not joking. If you're squeamish.
Is that where you pee without an aileron?
No, delta P is a water pressure differential phenomenon.
Oh yes. Sorry. Yep.
Like I'm not. This is not a bit. Don't look it up. You will vomit.
Do just be prepared.
Yeah.
Oh no, that poor crab. Yep. Well, there we go. I know it exactly
The
what
crab
you saw.
isn't so bad.
Remember, folks, when Alex tells you to not look something up, believe him.
Yeah, I'm not fucking with you.
Where did the crab go?
The crab goes in the pipe.
Into the square hole, or into the micron fissure.
Oh, goodbye, crab. Anyway, non-compressibles.
Oh, like a PNG or a TIFF.
Maybe. Okay, maybe, I don't know if you know the answer to this. Water is not compressible, which is why...
Except for in very strict circumstances, but yes.
Really?
I
don't know what those
there
are.
are situations where it
Yes.
can be compressed.
That's horrifying.
Day-to-day situations.
It becomes very angry.
Yes. In situations where a human being can exist, water is incompressible.
So that's why hydraulics work. But
Yeah.
if that's true, why do we use oil?
Well, oil reacts a lot less with materials than water does. Water loves to fuck shit up.
It's true.
Yeah, water is just
On account of being full of oxygen and
Yeah.
hydrogen.
Water is just more difficult to deal with.
Yeah, like it's everywhere, but you don't want to use
Lubricants
it.
and doesn't rust. Oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Oh, I thought you were going to give us an answer.
No,
Oh, okay.
I
Well, there we go.
didn't know, and someone in the chat answered.
It
So
all came together.
yeah, I figured it was something like that.
Oh, denser and the equipment needed is smaller too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, you can sell it.
The other question is like, where do they get the logic behind coloring it? Because I had an experience when I used to do show tech work, which is sort of like stay-home roadie work. But occasionally you do go out to like local venues to work on stuff. And when Western Speedway still existed, we went up to set up a temporary stage. You know, like the Transformer ones?
Yeah.
Like the one that fell down and killed all those people?
Yeah.
One of those. And
That wasn't yours, though.
no, it wasn't ours, fortunately. And this was like way before that happened. But it's like a tractor trailer
Just
that like
folds
butterflies out into a stage, a really flimsy stage.
Yep, and everything's held together with cotter pins.
Yeah. And like it's basically like a jigsaw. Well, like not a jigsaw puzzle, but it is like a puzzle. And it's
One of those like pop-up books.
yeah, actually kind of. And it's driven by one shitty two-stroke hydraulic engine. Anyway, so either the guy who was running it didn't know what he was doing, or it was badly designed, or both, because it sheared off its own hydraulic line
Wow.
and started bleeding this like fuchsia hydraulic oil everywhere. And we were stuck there with our thumbs up our asses for like quite some time until we could get an emergency hydraulic tech on like a weekend to come in and fix the damn thing.
Oh, and that didn't come cheap, I'm sure.
Not my problem.
Yeah, I think it's just like they want to color it something so that it's easy to find where
Yeah.
a leak
Yeah,
is.
that's generally it's that, and it's so that it's not the color of some other critical fluid that you
Right.
definitely
Yeah, that
want to
makes
know what it
sense.
is.
It's
Although-
like if you see purple, you know like there's no situation where there would be purple anywhere else.
It's like, oh cool, it's a clear liquid.
Yeah,
It could be anything.
And in a situation where there are liquids that can melt you instantly, you want to know what liquid it's okay to have a little bit on you, and
Is-
which one is.
Is it water or is it hydrazine? I don't actually know. Like, doesn't that just explode on contact with air?
It might.
I just hear that it's very gnarly.
But yeah, generally you just want to know what sort of spill it is you're dealing with so that you don't use the wrong reagent.
It's like why glass blowing is such a pain, because hot glass looks the same as cold glass.
Yep. Hot glass until you get to the forbidden candy stage.
Yeah, and then it goes blorb.
And then, but it's like how like natural or natural gas is odorless.
Yeah, they add that smell.
Yep,
And thank
so
goodness
that
they do,
you
because then
know.
you can tell. I was biking home and I got hit with this wall of sulfur stink, and the fire department had closed off like a block because there was a gas leak.
We had
I
had,
was
we had had a shelter-in-place incident in Victoria due to gas leak.
I wonder if it was the same one.
It was, I believe.
Yeah, that sucks.
If it happened in the last week, yep.
Yeah, not last week, but like
okay.
within recent memory.
There was just one the last week, unfortunately. Yeah.
Wait, were we supposed to shelter in place
Not,
last week?
thankfully, not us. We were outside the zone.
I was like, I definitely didn't do that, so I'm glad.
So nothing blew up either. So all good.
Talking about colored liquids, they will color fuels.
Yes. Specifically agricultural fuels.
Yeah, as a means of controlling regulation. Like
Purple gas was a big thing in Alberta when I was living there because it was not taxed at the same rate as commercial fuel because it was for farmers to use on farms.
And they color it that way so that if you get caught with it and you're not a farmer using it for agriculture,
You can get fined.
Yeah.
So it is chemically the exact same.
Yeah, it's
stuff.
exactly the same fuel.
Yeah,
It's
just
just being tinted
Has a dye attached to
so
it.
that it's it's a means of labeling it, I guess.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so somebody could easily, like, if you, I don't know how you would check somebody's gas tank, but I guess around the edges of you would see like it around the edges
Yeah, I
of
don't
the
know.
gas tank or something.
I'm sure the regulatory commissions that be for that kind of thing have a way of inspecting your gas tank. They
Well,
probably have a long straw and
or
some.
in the engine.
That's all it really takes is a pipette
You've got the wrong one.
to pull some out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it tastes like the grimace, you're going to jail.
Okay, but here's where it gets really weird. I saw this thing about a guy in the UK who agreed to an interview if he was kept anonymous. He was running a service where he would take and filter agricultural gas to return it to colorless.
How
and we sell it.
much is he charging? And
I
is
don't know.
How is he making a profit on
I
that?
don't know.
There's a reason why we're doing these things.
Yeah, well. It was one of those, like, it seemed like one of those, like, fairly low tier crimes. You're just like, aw, buddy. High tier crimes being like the guy who, I mean, this is a goof, but you see the guy who had the pit in the backyard that he filled with batteries and stuff?
Oh yes, yeah.
This didn't actually happen, I hope, but it's a
meme image.
it's a
of
graphic, and it's been getting worse. Like he threw a car in there.
Oh wow. Yeah, I heard it was car batteries.
Yeah, car batteries and like 100 smoke detectors.
Yeah.
And he says the air tastes like pennies. I found out fairly recently that at one point the Soviet Union was making smoke detectors that used as a source plutonium, which I briefly thought, man, I'd love to have that, and then I was like, no, I wouldn't.
Nope, that's one of the agencies you don't want to get a call from.
Yeah, that's the, like, you're really not allowed to have that.
You imagine the Libyan terrorists from Back to the Future.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except they're from the government of the United States.
Yeah.
And they're here for your plutonium.
Yeah, it's like plutonium is one of those things where just like civilians aren't allowed to own it, and it's probably for the best. It's like it really is like the Captain Planet villain of elements, because it's like it's heavy and ugly and radioactive and unbelievably poisonous, and also sometimes it just gets bored and catches fire for no reason. I'm not kidding. Like, it'll just be like,
I don't know. I think it's one of those things you shouldn't be able to buy it.
well, I mean,
But if you can make it
I
yourself.
think it might be more expensive than gold.
Oh, probably.
It's like $5,000, maybe $8,000 an ounce.
Well, it doesn't exist naturally. It needs to be
sure doesn't.
synthesized.
It's what's interesting to me is that one of the reasons individuals can't make atom bombs is because enriching uranium is just by its very nature an enormously resource-intensive affair. So it's like one person just could not do it. Like you could spend an entire lifetime meticulously refining it yourself, and you'd never get enough material. It requires the resources of like a nation or large organization to accomplish. And then a little bit of code to make it all fall apart. You know about Stuxnet, right?
I literally made a joke about that on Saturday.
That blows my mind.
Well,
I guess we're talking about Stuxnet now. So, I mean, to talk about Stuxnet, we probably need to talk about uranium enrichment in the first place, because it involves a lot of uranium hexafluoride gas and centrifuges. Like a lot of them. Like a lot of them.
because it's not just a one step in the, like,
Yeah.
not an hour in the centrifuge and you're done.
You get a gaseous form of uranium, and then you spin it, and you get enriched uranium.
Mm-hmm.
And
which you need to do several times.
yeah. And the U.S. didn't want, it was like Iran that was definitely not making enriched uranium for bombs. No, we pinky swear.
Like Iran, to a lesser extent North Korea, but
Yeah.
mainly the Stuxnet was mainly Iran, if I recall.
So they wanted to come up with a way to like sabotage their nuclear program, but be really subtle about it. So they wrote a computer virus called Stuxnet.
Which you may have had on your own computer, on your own centrifuges at home.
And rather than, like in the movies where they turn on their computer and a big laughing skull appears and it's like deleting all uraniums. They're like, no. It was way more subtle, where it would very imperceptibly alter the operating characteristics of the centrifuges, so that they would run off balance
And therefore,
and fail catastrophically.
so not only was it a case of you wouldn't get what you wanted, but also
It broke.
your stuff would break.
The shit broke, and it looked like an accident.
Yep.
But it's the idea of Stuxnet,
Yeah.
this brilliant idea of we don't need James Bond to sneak in and
Yeah, he was bummed about that. Like he was
insert
6
this
martinis
into
deep.
their network. What if we just infect every computer in the world?
And it'll eventually get there.
And eventually it'll get there. And with this virus that doesn't do anything.
Unless you're in an uranium enrichment
Unless
facility.
it looks for one specific brand of centrifuge, and that has very specific requirements, and then it wakes up. But otherwise, it just sits there doing nothing.
There's some really, really funny cyber attack stuff. Like, did you remember when the U.S. had their secret base revealed because somebody discovered a whole bunch of Fitbits out in the middle of nowhere?
Yep.
Or the
The Wi-Fi router that one literal ship had to turn off.
I don't remember that one.
Oh yeah, they were trying to hide their they had what was it? A Starlink satellite set up so that they could have Wi-Fi for things, and they tried to hide that from the Navy. The captain did, and was unsuccessful.
I saw an out of context picture of a guy with a wheelbarrow full of iPhones that was just trying to like screw up Google's traffic algorithm. It's just like, my goals are beyond your understanding.
that sort of thing of like the side channel leaking of information can
Yeah.
be very weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the cyberpunk stuff that I always think that's interesting is like weird kind of almost like lo-fi answers to high-tech problems. It's almost like that XKCD about like cryptography, where it's just like, the cryptographer's dream is like, oh, he's used the most sophisticated encryption, we'll never get it. And then the reality is just like, oh, okay, take this $2 wrench and beat the code out of this guy.
Yep.
It's like how apparently some professors are fighting back against ChatGPT being used to cheat on tests by bringing back pen and paper exams.
Oh,
Which is, I feel like that's like not something to celebrate, but here we are.
No, I know. I'll take my W's where they can. It's like that gives me pleasure.
I mean, couldn't it also just be like you have to do them on computers that aren't online?
well, like air gap computers. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
It wouldn't
probably
even
way
be-
more expensive.
Wouldn't even need to be air gap, just
bring back the typewriter.
just not internet connected at the time.
Yeah.
Yes, dumb terminals.
Yeah.
It's, which is
I
what-
mean, that'll be interesting if we like get to a point where we have dumb computers that are just like not internet enabled in any way.
we're halfway there because
Living on a prayer.
all the apps out there want you to run the app on their website
Hell no.
on their own servers.
I don't like it.
Not a fan.
Yeah, the cyberpunk nightmare that we live in is like really boring and stupid.
Yep.
There's not enough neon.
And yet there is still a lot of neon.
Yeah.
A non-zero amount. Usually inside the computers themselves. Through a. Is that it? Is that what we're looking for when you light up a computer with gamer lights? Is it just supposed to represent that in here is where the cyber happens?
I guess.
You live in the real world, whereas I live in the cyber world, where everything is bisexual lighted.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
I think they're at the point where like there's certain computer components like fans and RAM and also power supplies and things that while various technology things have been advancing over the years, differentiating yourself in the market is very difficult.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, what can we do that somebody like what can we do to make our thing look different or be different than somebody else's? Why would they choose ours rather than somebody else's?
Our revolutionary design cools your computer
then
with beer.
Incredibly, these like incredibly complicated and sophisticated LED coordination. Not only LED strips and different things in different that can flash lights in different colors, but then very advanced software controllers to control all the different LED systems and coordinate them together.
The pivot from incandescents to LED fixtures in show lighting has been so huge because when I got into doing show tech, it was still like a lot of incandescent fixtures, and to set those up for a show, it was a big pain in the ass, which is why you would like hire these people, because you would have a bunch of like par cans, which are just big aluminum tubes with like a very powerful bulb in them, and you'd like set them up on a rack, and you'd run big heavy power cables, and that would go back to something called a dimmer rack, which was the heaviest object in the universe because it was just like this cube full of copper that would regulate the voltage to bring the
dim
intensity
in,
of lights up and down.
Just a big box of
because
resistors.
that's how you had to do it.
Yep.
I mean, even
God, I hated pushing those stupid things around because it's like.
I mean, even now, I think in like large theatrical things, the only like some of the big lighting rigs, I think, might still be. They wouldn't be incandescent. They'd be halogen or
Yeah,
some,
there's also like other
Like,
kinds of.
I'm not sure if LEDs can go up to the intense brightness of some of the.
I could
par
believe it,
cans
and
that they
probably
need.
for like motion picture, they probably still use certain types of conventional light bulbs, but for most, I think like show tech lighting, especially like lower end stuff, it's totally different now because you have smart fixtures that can do any intensity, any color,
That's the big one.
to any pattern. Even like I think some of them might even be able to like simulate sort of like gobos and shit like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And they plug together effortlessly, and you can run them all on a computer or like on your phone.
And
even.
they're so much lighter.
Yeah, and they don't use very much electricity, which is good.
You mean stuff like...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. It's wild.
No, LEDs are a amazing technology.
Why in my day?
I mean, when we, when we got both, both this this moon base and the previous moon base that we sort of got built out, as opposed to just taking over place, that was a consideration, right? We're in Studio C here especially, we're running, a lot of light fixtures, and in previous times that would be a very difficult thing, but here, like, we don't even need a special fuse box or anything to run these. Like, there's the computer equipment probably takes more electricity than the lights, which is totally
the lights that we
totally
use
cool.
on location shoots now, like for Friday nights, for example, coming soon, are also smart fixtures that can be controlled from an app on Graham's phone.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
We used to, use big halogen work lights, which 500 watts per head.
Ooh-wee.
So there's like two on one fixture. We blew a lot of fuses.
I was telling Beach the other day, because we were talking about show tech as well, that when we used to run power for shows, the advice you would get from guys who'd done it a lot was that you would want to coil the pile of spare cable in a figure 8 pattern, because otherwise it would turn into a giant electromagnet.
Right.
And that would probably cause problems.
Cool.
Yeah. God, that was a weird job. Fairly fun, and it was very, very hard work. And I encountered some very interesting characters. I also heard a bunch of unsubstantiated anecdotes about certain things. Like, I heard that in places in Brazil they don't have connectors.
Just bare wire?
Yeah, so shows would just be bare wire to bare wire, splicing it. I mean, who the hell knows if that's even slightly true?
If you can make it work, though.
Yeah, they've all been.
I remember we were doing a shoot one time, and we were not. These wasn't using the halogen work lights. We're using. We used to use also. We had these daylight tuned incandescent bulbs, so they were I think 150 watt incandescent bulbs. So really big bulb, sort of almost twice as big as what would typically go in your regular fixture. And they're bright. The outside of them is bright blue, because when you combine that with the yellow that a normal incandescent fixture is, you get a daylight kind of color.
Neat.
I remember when I first started with this company, we were using those fluorescent bulbs,
we're using the big,
daylight bulbs.
Yeah, the giant compact fluorescent bulbs.
And so because I was just starting my own streaming at home, I ended up buying a couple of those to use in some soft boxes.
Yeah.
And that lasted for a while, and then I just discovered, hey, these have a standard thread on them. Let's just put these in my big lamps when I move over to LEDs. And they're great.
Yeah.
They put out light.
Everything is converging to lamp.
The best part about those lights, though, is they have
I'm gonna need it back in a second, though.
They have big sort of bowl-shaped reflectors on them and stuff. And one time we were filming outside, and we were doing a thing, and it started to get overcast, and we were just trying to finish it up, and just one drop of rain fell onto the bulb and just pow.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Temperature differentials.
That sounds just like how I broke the first sensing element on my Geiger counter.
Oh.
Did I tell you about this?
No, you did not. How did you read something that you shouldn't have?
No, it's much dumber than that.
Oh.
So I don't think I've shown this on content yet, but I wanted a better Geiger counter that would be a combination exhibit piece and functional tool.
Right.
So I found a used Eberline 260, I think, which is like a sort of just decent workhorsey type, slightly older Geiger counter. And I followed the recommendations of various groups for finding this kind of thing. And it was recommended to me because it was reasonably affordable, built like a tank. Spare parts are still in production,
That's always important.
which is a big deal and will come relevant in this story. And so I got it and I was like, oh, this is sweet. And I was playing with it because it has what's called a pancake probe on it. Because the Geiger counter itself is there's a box of the electronics and the indicator and all the controls, and there's a module on the side to make the ticking sound.
Right.
And then the actual probe is the Geiger-Müller tube that connects to it. And so the pancake sensor is it's a flat round disc that you can sort of use handheld.
Maneuver.
Yeah. And I had it upside down on a table or something. And the front of the probe has a steel grill on the front of it. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't know why. It's even dumber than you think.
Yep. That's part of the.
And yes, and I was testing some thoriated welding rods. Mm-hmm. Because they're ever so slightly radioactive. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that'll be cool.
Oh, because of the thorium.
Yeah. And I dropped a small piece of it
onto the grill.
Yeah, and I just heard this bang! And I panicked because I was like, oh shit, did I blow the electronics or something? Did I electrocute something?
Did I vaporize all this thorium?
It was just I have no idea what just happened. Mm-hmm. This is not a thing that I have.
This is
any
not an expected
for.
sound to have at this point.
So it turns out the sensing element consists of a steel sort of base and a cup. Mm-hmm. And it has a kind of an antenna in the middle. And then it's covered over with a very thin membrane of mica and pressurized inside with neon.
Oh.
And the reason the mica is there is because it allows it to detect alpha radiation.
Right.
Because alpha has such low penetrative power, it's stopped by your skin.
Okay. So it's...
And the mica has to be able to accept that. And so that's why there's a physical grill to protect it from being bumped with objects, but it's this super wafer thin membrane that can still permeate neutrons. And I had burst it like a balloon. So it was toast.
Well, that's a lesson you learn once.
I know, and it cost me $150.
That's why it's a lesson you learn once.
So again, fortunately, parts still in manufacture. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I learned an expensive lesson, felt like an idiot, and I now have a little ruined one of these detectors because once it was broken, there's this. You ever broken apart a dried leaf?
Yes.
Where you just touch it and
it
shatters. It was like that. So I cleared it off and it had the weird little antenna that looks like one of those anti-aircraft gun sights with the
Sick.
rings.
Yeah, the concentric rings.
But yeah, it was very easy to replace though because it was just and put it back in.
Well, it's a separate module.
Yeah, exactly. And you could get different ones, but
I need to grab. Oh no, they're probably in the range of $100 or so. I was thinking. Well, a friend of mine has loaned me a Flipper Zero for use.
Oh yeah, okay. I've heard things about what those do. Are they?
No, they are not. They've absolutely not been made.
There was a proposed bill to.
Oh, they were just
these are being used to steal cars, and then finally a large group of electronics aficionados had to combine efforts and tell Mr. Champagne, no, you can't use this to steal a car.
And all the wannabe black hats are like, no.
It's like, yeah, somebody, because somebody sort of demonstrated that some of the things you can do with it, which you could do some pretty cool things with it, but it's like if that kind of machinery becomes outlawed or whatever, there's a whole range of things that would also have to be
real
included.
problem.
Yeah.
But the point of the story is that one of the features it has is a GPIO port on top.
Okay.
Which stands for General Purpose Input Output.
Oh,
Yeah, I love GPIO ports for that reason, because often
the devil, you say?
they're a combination of analog and digital ports. And one of the things you can plug into said ports at the top are commercially available Geiger counter modules.
Oh, baby.
And so I've been considering that as an option, too.
Well, like the data you get from those could not be simpler. Like it's binary. It's like yes or no.
Oh, by the way, speaking of radioactive material, welcome Wiggins and Chathew.
Hey.
I hope that whatever was on the topic of discussion for tonight was not too heated.
Not like the nuclear fuel. I was talking about that last stream about how spent fuel remains thermally hot for quite a while.
See, this is one of the things that we do a disservice to ourselves with our words. What we call nuclear waste still has 95% of its energy producing potential still in it.
Yeah, but it's way cheaper to mine new uranium.
Yeah, we can't
Can't have nice things.
Can't have the Iranians getting their hands on our garbage.
Yeah, I did consult with our, I was about to say resident, she doesn't live here, but Lauren, who works in the nuclear industry. It's hot, not hot enough to like melt, but it would make it difficult to handle, which is why it chills out in a spent fuel pond for a number of years.
Just, hanging out.
Yeah, so that it becomes like cool enough to put into.
It does its work. It gets to go to the hot tub before it goes home.
Uranium Beach episode.
Jeez. Oh.
Yeah, and then it's like then you get to go into a dry cask, which is basically the timeout container.
Then you get to go to your forever home somewhere.
You've activated my special interest, so now you're all fucked. The defueling and decommissioning process going on at Chernobyl right now, which is incredibly interesting and sophisticated.
Yes.
One of the challenges they have is the RBMK reactor design is gigantic.
The reactor itself was what we're talking about here, not just the building.
That's one of its advantages, was that like it was crude and shitty and it blew up, but it was really big. Like really big. So it made a lot of energy and a lot of plutonium for bombs.
Yeah, no surprise there.
So the part of the decommissioning process is obviously they're going to take care of Unit 4, the one that blew up, but also the other 3 units that would need to be mothballed anyway. And all their spent fuel has been hanging out in a dilapidated building that is now being decommissioned. And
This is something we talked about in Checkpoint this afternoon here, because check it out on youtube.com/LRRVG.
yeah.
We talked about the 3 Mile Island and that Microsoft is recommissioning units 2 and 3. Like you can have a reactor meltdown at a facility and not cause the facility to become just this thing that needs to be covered over.
I always remind people that
Like Two Mile Island Facility 1 has just been in production this whole it's been
still making
in
power
use for all this time.
yeah, Chernobyl units 1 through 3 stayed in service till 2001.
Because nuclear power is a good source of energy.
It is. Right. Okay. So the problem they have is that the fuel elements are 11 meters long.
Whole
Meters.
That is long.
That's really long.
That's really long.
It's really long because it's like if you imagine this pumpkin was the reactor, One of the other advantages of the RBMK reactor design is that like it's capable of what's called online refueling, where there's like a lid on the top. There's no containment structure because those are for losers. But while it was running, you could actually refuel it because you would have like an overhead gantry that would be like meh, 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 put in new fuel, take out old fuel. But like it's very long.
Return to
So
tradition.
when they're getting rid of it, they've built a special railway system where a train car goes under the building
Yep.
where this fuel is stored.
And just
No. It gets even better. So there's the train car pivots in the middle
to go
vertically
up.
to accept fuel elements, and then it pivots back horizontal.
It's the train version of that research boat that goes vertical to.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
amazing.
They take it to the processing plant where they again take it in. They cut them in half, and then
Which seems like a grand idea.
yeah. Well, no, I mean they have to because then they fit into dry casks, which they then put into a mausoleum.
I think they should just do what you one of the things you posted as an interesting concept for a reactor. Which is dig a huge hole. But what was it? 5 kilometers down. Should be enough, I think it was.
Okay.
And at that point, the atmospheric pressure provides enough of a pressure against the uranium to continue a reaction.
Wait, are you talking about Oklo?
Maybe.
Or no, I don't remember this idea.
Okay. It was an idea that something about if you bury a hole low enough that the atmospheric pressure is enough to create a pressure vessel on top to keep.
That seems dubious.
Certain this wasn't a dream of mine, but
I mean, maybe. I mean, I've mentioned Oklo, so now I need to explain that. Do you know about this one?
I do not know about Oakland.
Holy fuck. This is why nuclear history interests me so much, is because all the stories are completely bonkers.
And all very recent too. Let's be clear. This all started in the mid-40s.
It's funny you say that because this one technically goes back a little ways. So there's a mining operation in, I want to say it's part of South America. I'm probably getting that wrong.
Is this one of the naturally occurring reactors? That might be in Africa then.
Yeah, I think maybe somewhere in Africa. So when uranium is mined, like naturally occurring uranium shows up all over the place.
Uranium City, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's very common. There's a couple places on Earth that it's more common. And
that's where the supernova went.
Yeah, when you mine naturally occurring uranium, like if this is uranium, there's most of it is I'm gonna get this wrong. U-238, which is sort of radioactive, and then there's like a little tiny bit of U-235, which is really radioactive and fissile. And this is the stuff you want for for reactors and bombs and so on forth.
Hence the need for a lot of refinement.
Yeah, so because you want to like get all the good stuff out.
You want to get the pumpkin seeds.
Yeah, you want to get all the pumpkin seeds and the rest of it, whatever. But the amount, like the proportion of U-235 and 238 is very predictable. Like it's the same everywhere. And when they were doing this mining operation, they test the material as it comes out, and they're like, "What the hell? This is like a noticeable percentage, less than
that's
normal.
Well,
that's impossible."
Let's talk for a second about why why all the uranium is of the same type, is because it all got made at once when the star that made up the stuff that our planet is blew up.
Yeah.
And so
like,
it's all decaying.
Okay, test it again. Test it again. Okay, test it again.
Yeah, because this is not something must be wrong with the instruments.
How could this physically have happened? Because like the way this usually happens is in a nuclear reactor.
And those just don't happen on their own.
No,
that can't. That's impossible.
Right?
Those take smart white men in lab coats of the same color of their skin to make.
Yeah, no, they don't happen by accident, right?
Yeah.
Right?
No. Well, I mean, sorry. When the smart white men in the lab coats play around, sometimes they do make their own. But in nature, not so much.
So, some number of like billions of years ago, the geological formation became such that there was the right orientation of fissile material and groundwater to create an intermittent sustained chain reaction.
Yeah.
That just happened.
So was it just like heating up the
Yeah,
surrounding
it would
area?
just heat up for a while and then chill out for a while and then heat up for a while, and like it just occurred that like geology brought together like a critical mass of material so that it would chain react
and
it
the
would just
water,
like it would
importantly.
heat up. Yeah, the water is an important thing because water is a moderator, and it went like this for a while, and then like. Billions of years passed, and it was like, whatever, we'll go do something else.
God, can you
So
imagine?
was it basically just considered like a hot spring or something?
I don't
I
know.
hope not.
I mean, I guess maybe there was some like mutant dinosaurs, or it's just like, man, this place is great. I don't feel so good, guys.
Wasn't it underground significantly?
Probably,
Yeah, because it was part of the mining discovery, if I recall.
but yeah, it's like it's so bonkers.
God, can you imagine if we had stumbled upon that before figuring out
Yeah, I mean,
radioactive
like
decay?
one of my
It would be just like a haunted pond or something.
Yeah,
It would
pretty
just, like,
much. It's
You
like-
go to this pond and then you die 10 years later.
I have all these ideas for like stories, like a Victorian era, like nuclear kind of energy thing where they discover it like way too early, and so you have those guys in like. Have you ever seen the like turn of the century X-ray operator outfits
Yup.
like that with like chain falls and stuff? I think that'd be awesome.
I think so, yeah.
It's like another one of our technicians has fallen ill mysteriously. I think he's got a touch of the palsy.
Better send him upstate.
And then, like, my other idea is like a post-civilization primitive people rediscovering
Atomics.
sequestered fuel. This is not a place of honor. I bet there's good treasure
Yeah,
here. It's like, oh no!
Hey, chat, I just discovered this sweet place of honor. Now, I'll bet there's all sorts of records of their deeds and work inside that they are totally unashamed of.
It's like,
Yeah,
well,
that's it. I mean, that's the funny. That's that interesting thing where they're like, very smart people have thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Which is this like, how do we make something not only
yeah.
like how do we make it so it's says you shouldn't be here, but
And
also
people believe it.
but it's like you shouldn't be here not because it's something really valuable because
It's something
very-
awful and
and
dangerous.
Don't
But like
yeah.
even then, it's just like everybody who goes here dies. Do you think we could harness that to like destroy the nation?
Not me, I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm built different.
yeah.
Wait, that's-
unfortunately it's really hard to come up with that.
I don't know why I didn't see that parallel being a plot point in the Nausicaa manga.
Oh.
You know where they try to control the was it the Daikai show?
Yeah, yeah.
They're just like, oh man, what if we got the bugs to overrun our enemies? There's no way that would come back and bite us in the ass. Oh shit, it did. That manga is very, very good and
very good.
unbelievably gory and violent, full of body horror.
But if you love Miyazaki,
so
you do yourself a disservice by not taking the time to go down to the library and check it out.
Incredible. I mean, like my bias would be that like buy the
Oh
the
yeah,
giant
buy the
two-volume one.
hardcovers.
Yeah, it also has like, I think hands down my favorite sort of sci-fi fantasy monster in
The Omu or the
no Oma, the God Soldier.
Ah yes.
It's so awful.
yeah. Well, especially when you start getting into the supplementary material, which includes the diagnostic information, I guess you could say.
I heard that diagram might have been like a piece of fan art, but it's still amazing.
Yeah.
It's so weird and grody, and it's just like this this blasphemous monstrosity.
Absolutely a partial inspiration for the Evangelion.
Oh,
in terms
totally.
of a mechanical
Well, I mean,
robot.
like, yeah,
And not to mention that Hideaki Anno did the animation of the God Soldier for the movie.
sure did. Pew! One of my favorite sequences. It's like, okay, go away now. Boom! Okay, try it again. Ah, you fell apart. Damn.
Still my favorite. One of my favorite images is Anno and Miyazaki together at a table, holding a little airplane together and looking at it and going, "Oh, look, it's an Immelman."
It's so cute.
Yeah.
I do like Anno's fixation on like death lasers.
He does
Those are
good.
awesome.
He does good. Well, and nuclear style explosions.
Yeah.
Holy moly! So I know I've told this story before about Shoji Kawamori, who is the mechanical designer for Macross.
Okay.
Who sorry, not Shoji Kawamori. I'm thinking of Itano,
Okay.
who was one of the animation directors on Macross.
Okay.
Who is responsible for the Utano Circus, which people may know as whenever you see missiles in Japanese animation firing off, and they've all got
There's a name for that?
the contrails that go all over the place.
I always just knew them as like Macross missiles.
It's the Utano Circus specifically.
Wow.
Do you know how he got the idea? Well, I don't know how he got the idea for that.
Can't wait.
Do you know how he made it look the way he looked?
How?
He and his buddy went down to the beach at night
Oh man,
and strapped Roman candles
that rules.
to their bicycles, I think no motorbikes, and then pointed themselves at each other and fired them off
That's so
and just
awesome.
took the information.
My life was changed irreversibly when it might have been you pointed out in Project ACO. At one point, they're doing that sequence where they're like trying to shoot down the giant space destroyer.
Yep.
And there's all these missiles flying, and one of them's a goddamn Pepsi can.
Sure is.
It's like 3 frames, but
Yep.
it's like totally a can of Pepsi.
There's one of those. There's a Budweiser can in Do You Remember Love as one of the missiles.
So funny.
I think that's probably the best way any story that starts go down to
Go down to the
beach.
beach with Roman
Yeah,
candles.
go down to the beach at night and put Roman candles on our motorcycles. Like, that's basically the best case scenario for how that could end.
Well, this is also the guy that for, I think, Macross Plus, they sent him over to do Top Gun in North America.
I am
And-
really overdue for a rewatch of that.
Yeah. But anyway, he went up into the in the machine and did some flying around, and then people had to cart him back to the hotel.
I mean, imagine he was quite royally fuckered from.
Well, yes, he experienced specifically at request
Oh no.
to black out
I-
from G-forces,
How many layers of G-force are you on?
so that he could appropriately depict in animation what it's like to undergo G-lock.
They went a little too far on it, though.
Disagree.
No, they went just far enough, but they afterwards
if-
told him, you have to get back to the hotel and write this down. You need to remember this. You need to survive.
I was gonna say, but like, if you had to, like, because I've seen stuff where people pass out from G-force, but it's usually like quite
Brief.
It's quite brief. They don't have to be carried back to the hotel.
Well, I mean,
Well, you see, those people are professionals, Paul, not
No,
not otaku.
No, I've seen. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen, like I think like Adam Savage and various other hosts of things have done
I would
things.
argue that Adam Savage, while kind of an otaku, is still built different.
But I mean, non-trained people.
Yeah.
But
No,
I'm just
I
saying,
know
but
what you're getting at.
They must have really given it to him to knock him out that much.
Knowing Kawamori, knowing what I do about, no, not Kawamori, sorry, Itano, yes, he absolutely
on.
asked for it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Right. Yeah. Tom Scott did it too. Yeah.
Yeah, but has Tom Scott made a Macross Plus?
To be honest, he might have.
That's a good point.
He's done a lot of weird things.
I'm here in Miyagi, Japan, to learn how to be an animator. I'm not going to sleep for the next 8 days.
I'm going to eat cup noodle and smoke 5 packs of cigarettes each day. So I heard, this is neither here nor there, but like cigarettes don't decrease anxiety in any way. They just quell nicotine cravings.
I can't say as a smoker, I can't say it ever calmed anxiety.
But like that's the thing is that people say, you know, like it calms your nerves.
Oh, people say a lot of
Of
things
course they do. It's
about
like
drugs and food, and as a committed hedonist who is trying to objectively at least research these things and give a
oh sure.
yeah, it gives you a really nice high that lasts for about 30 seconds, and then it's done.
No, like whippets.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whip it good.
Speaking of short time, we're going to take a short break here, swap our fluids, stretch our legs, and absolutely not inhale any gaseous material.
Don't do inhalants. They're so bad for you.
And we'll be back in just a few minutes with more Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network, and I'm realizing that was probably a good idea I didn't switch from euphonium to percussion when I was in junior high band.
Get out.
How you doing, Alex?
So during the 40s, the Calutron girls would extract U-235 one atom at a time.
Sorry.
Which are you representing that?
Yeah. I bring this back to the table because I'm taking out the pumpkin seeds because I.
Are you enriching our pumpkin?
Yes. I am hoping to get a critical mass and become a nuclear power so that people will take me seriously in the world stage.
Don't forget to salt or soak your seeds in a saltwater solution before roasting them, though, to maintain respect for me on the international stage.
I also, when I was doing this rooting around, came up with a great idea. A great and profane and horrible idea. Because I noticed that Ian's internal matter was way more goopy and disgusting than mine. So maybe, I don't know if this is going to have an effect that is not as visible as I was hoping.
Well, it might be once you get some
light in there?
yeah, maybe you just want to thin it out just a bit.
That's a really good mass.
Yeah.
This would make a great sci-fi prop.
That looks like a terrible wig.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just get a little...
Sadako comes out of the pumpkin with this.
Actually, if you had a little red food coloring, that would interact really well with the orange.
Yeah, maybe.
And really gut that up.
And I was also going to dig through here to find maybe some usable pieces for something. That doesn't look half bad. I'm kind of pissed off that it almost works.
Love how dumb that is for you.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever roasted pumpkin seeds myself.
Really? Okay.
And I quite like pepitas.
Mm-hmm. Well, pepitas are just pumpkin seeds with the shells removed.
Now, why are they small and green, though?
Because that's what the inside looks like of these pumpkin seeds.
No shit.
Yeah, if you roast those and you crack them open, you will find them small and green inside.
All right. They are how I made a really lazy, delicious salad. Is you get one of those boxes of like mixed greens. Mm-hmm. You throw a handful of that in a bowl, and you throw some roasted pepitas on top of it. Slosh on some balsamic vinegar, and it's a salad.
Salad toppers, man.
Yeah, you might add some like black pepper as well. It's just like, hey, there we go.
Yeah, just
We're done.
Just a little extra.
There was a discussion that came up of like, you know, there's all these like insufferable easy recipes that are like, it's like this easy recipe. First, marinate overnight. It's like, go eat a donkey.
Okay, first step. That said, marination, great way to up your meat game.
Yeah.
Which is a phrase I just
like, I think of like a coffee table book or something of like things to make when you just have like one spoon left. You're just like, it's like actually easy recipes for the chronically depressed or anxious.
Alex, do you know where
I feel like there are some.
paring knife went?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's right here.
Perfect.
I feel like there are some opportunities for that. Like that, there are a few cookbooks that are sort of in that realm.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you can go pretty far to brass tacks, where it's just like, hey, just eat some peanut butter. You know what? Just eat it. Get a spoon. Eat peanut butter.
I feel like you don't really need like a cookbook for that. But
I mean, sometimes the idea of, I mean, this isn't a cooking thing, but like running the dishwasher a second time is like one of those sort of coping with not having much.
Any spoons to deal with in a full dishwasher?
Yeah, it's just like, just run it again.
Also, run your dishwasher. Don't hand wash all your dishes. You are wasting water.
there's a Canadian author or a Canadian food
Oh, Sad Bastard Cookbook?
person used to be who used to be on TV called James Barber.
Oh, I remember James Barber.
The Urban Peasant
Yes.
is what his TV show was.
I believe he took over for the Walk with Yan slot after he was done.
Wow!
Who is back, by the way? But go ahead, Paul.
What?
Yeah, no. He's got a new cookbook and a new.
Does he
show.
have all new puns?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I think that's probably. But that is such a. Oh my God! You just like brought me straight back to the '80s. Sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, people loving Yan in the chat. Let's talk about James Barber though.
So James Barber. If you come across, I don't think any of his cookbooks are like in print right now. But if you come across them in a used
Digital or used
story place,
Archive.org is back.
They're wonderful. They're in the format, like how they used to do, like, I don't know, like Far Side or Garfield comics in like that sort of wide format. Most of his cookbooks are in that wide format, and most of them are actually like he has sort of illustrations like it's a comic book of the characters sort of making the food. But it's very like, it is that sort of very like relaxed, take some of this. If you don't have this, try this. If you don't have this, go this and stuff.
And that's absolutely a certain type of cooking that's good.
Very, very much sort of cooking for the sort of everyday life for what you have, as opposed to going out and doing a special meal. It's a little different.
And those sorts of recipes that are, good utility recipes that you can't really screw up as long as you have some base ingredients you can substitute things out. I like those because of, the ethos of this show. Let's try. Don't be scared about screwing up.
An attempt was made. There is a huge amount of wisdom to that. I think that the expectations that society and one another place on each other really kind of is the first and biggest stumbling block to learning skills and developing your abilities. It's just like this paralyzing, suffocating fear of looking stupid or screwing up.
You know what the motto of 4-H is?
What's that?
Learn to do by doing.
Yeah.
And that's I'm just trying to take that to the next step up. Give it a try, and you'll learn something from that.
Yeah. Or like even screw up on purpose.
Yeah.
The most useful. I say this all the time. The most useful art skill I ever learned was cultivating tolerance to disappointment.
Especially throughout a process that has times for disappointment.
Yeah.
Can I interject here?
Yeah, go for it.
Because this happens to me every time I'm in the middle of a model, and I'm really enjoying my journey through scale modeling, but there is a point where the middle model where you've taken a few days break.
Yeah.
Or it's it's generally in the middle where it looks like ass.
Yep.
And you cannot convince yourself otherwise that there's any way that this is going to come around. And you just have to trust the process.
Yup.
That once you get done a couple more steps, it's going to look incredible.
Yeah.
But right now, you just have to push through that disappointing point
Yeah.
and keep going.
Yeah, like do the thing. Definitely stop waiting for you to attain some magical supposed state of being ready for something.
Doing nothing is a great way to do nothing. You are not going to gain anything from it, other than maybe some rest. But if you need that, that's fine.
There's like small caveats about this. Like maybe don't jump right into gas welding if you don't know anything about combustion.
Or if you're specifically hell-bent on learning about gas welding, maybe that's something you take a course for.
Yeah, go at it sensibly, but like do it. Just don't be like, I could do this thing.
Yeah, sign up for that makerspace today, and then
Yeah.
go tomorrow. Start today. Even if your project is the elimination of living things.
Wait, hang on.
I'm just basing that off the Grim Reaper sticker I keep seeing on someone's cabinet.
It's definitely Cam's. It's very good. That'd be so funny to like come back and bite us. It's just like, I did as you said, and now I'm going to exterminate humanity.
Great. Can you end here?
It's like one of the parts in Exit Through the Gift Shop where Banksy is giving an interview and he's like, I used to tell like everybody that everyone is capable of creativity and everybody should try it. I'm not so sure about that anymore. Because if you watch the documentary,
there's a context to that.
It's to sort of kind of explain what Exit Through the Gift Shop is. It was supposed to be a documentary about Banksy, and instead got reversed into a documentary about the guy who wanted to make a documentary about Banksy, because he's way more interesting and a maniac. It's very good.
This is turning out. Yeah, no, it is a very good film.
Yeah.
I do have a fondness for documentaries that change their topic partway through.
Yeah. I am very curious about what Adam Curtis is working on right now.
Who's Adam Curtis?
He did a few documentaries for the BBC throughout the
Biebers.
the 2000s, and I need to get you to put hypernormalization in your face.
Hypernormalization?
Yes, it's a good examination of the media landscape throughout from the 50s on, and just how society and those in power look at themselves and present the world in a way that we are able to interact with it. That we now live in a state of hyper-normalization where everything, it's like, Horace ebooks really put it the best. Everything is happening so much.
It sure
and
is.
how that affects us psychologically.
Sucks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the phrase horse ebooks said it best.
Wow, what a world we live in right now, where our greatest profits are bots on a social media system.
I mean, the right bot, maybe.
Horse ebooks, drill.
There's no way Drill's a bot.
No.
That would be the funniest thing. It's like it turned out like this entire time he's been like a DARPA black project, just in the public eye. His like last tweet is like initiating nuclear launch. No, but like for real.
Like the idea of like a DARPA black project that has, it's like whoever set it into motion or whatever has left. It's like, what was the point of this project again?
How do we stop it?
You're just explaining the plot of Cube.
Yeah.
Girl.
Which is another very good movie.
And Canadian.
Yeah.
and another one where not necessarily served by sequels.
Oh God! All the sequels are garbage.
Hypercube.
I mean, it's one of those things where like you're kind of stuck in terms of sequels, where it's like
It's not a movie that should have had sequels, but like I
it's
think.
like, well, we have to explain more of the mythology.
No,
of
you
the whole thing.
don't! Stop explaining everything. Stop
But
lore
like,
milling.
But like that's the only place that you can sort of go for a sequel.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
No, they could have done like orb, oblong.
just do it again.
I had the most upsetting post that I had to read today in a anime forum on a specific Dead Demons Day Destruction. Oh, thank you, Gilnox, for putting hyperneuralization in the chat there for us. But their point, their post was, I've got to episode X,
Okay.
and I don't feel like I understand what's going on. Why did they flashback?
Stop it.
What? I feel like I can't watch anymore without understanding why this is happening.
I think I want to throw up.
And that is a more prevalent attitude I've seen online. Maybe online isn't the right place for me to be.
No, I think that.
I mean, from a purely like, various absorbing pop culture or sort of experiencing, a particular piece of pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain amount of that. There's a certain amount of, it's like at a certain point in the, it's like, okay, now there's now I don't have confidence that you guys know what what is happening.
This was not that case.
I mean, there is also.
But yeah, I see what.
It's always that there's that inherent idea of like, it's like, I'm going to go with you on this mystery journey, but I'm the pact that you're making with your audience is that there is an answer.
Yeah.
You might not show it, but there is an answer that can be worked out.
And that's why I think Lost did such an amazing disservice to storytelling. Not because of the whole mystery box thing, or not because that we had to get an answer, but
I thought it was
because
a smoke monster.
Because it caused such a huge backlash against any idea of keeping any information from your audience.
I never thought about it that way because I never watched Lost.
But there's also the idea that and there's a lot of like Battlestar Galactica had sort of the same thing where it's like I had no confidence that the end that they ended up with was that they weren't just pulling it out of their butt. Over the course
I suppose.
Of the thing.
I mean, there's ambiguity, and then there's we don't know what we're doing.
It's not a mystery if the actual answer keeps changing.
Yeah.
And
as you're going.
And that was, I think, a big problem on their part of just giving you a promise right in the opening credits of, hey, they have a plan.
Right, they have a plan. Yeah. Oh, do they?
Yeah, and we'll get to see this plan, right? Or have it fail or something.
Is that aspirational, or is that like something that is true?
Yeah. Okay, so like which YouTube video should I watch to find out whether Deckard's a replicant or not?
Yep.
Depends on what cut of the movie you're watching.
No, I want an empirical answer.
I think then you need to watch the YouTube video that by the person who didn't actually watch Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's probably pretty good. The other thing about like these hyper asinine takes is that like I've become profoundly skeptical of them from a sort of meta perspective because the internet, particularly sites like Twitter, they piss you off on purpose. And a lot of that involves going deep sea mining for the dumbest take imaginable by a complete nobody who would never have seen the light of day otherwise, and dredging their little nugget of stupidity up into the light and placing it on a gold pedestal for everybody to look and be like, look, can you believe everyone in the world thinks this?
What we did is we created a generation of people via social media who were trained that they need to have an opinion
I know.
on everything, and that they need to express and defend that opinion.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then we created monetizations of YouTube
Yep.
to reward these people for
Yeah,
having...
like, I think, I mean, Twitter for me died a very, like, gradual death. I'll get around to that eventually, but, like, I think the thing that really did it for me wasn't just that, like, people were getting drawn into shit fights on purpose by an algorithm that, like, fomented conflict to keep people on the site, but it's that someone was profiting off of the whole thing. It's like, these people are being pissed off on purpose to be at each other's throats over nothing, and someone is getting dollars in their wallet and probably laughing themselves sick about it. And I was just like, no, I don't think I want to have anything to do with that ever.
The sad thing is, it's not even like, a lot of it isn't even like algorithmically
it's
generated. It's like, you know, a blog or a journalist or somebody sort of deliberately seeking out that take and,
for sure.
and pulling it. It's so it's like, it's not even that we can blame, you know, the
because like
the algorithm is only doing it because it watched
well, I mean, the
us.
algorithm like certainly doesn't help, but it's also just like
I learned it from you.
You know, I definitely did used to feel this obligation to like leap into comments and like defend my position, like denounce the like people, you know, opposing. It's like, wait, this is just a stupid mud wrestle with idiots that isn't really going to like.
How strange! Alex hasn't commented on this latest thing.
Yeah, and
I have seen that very comment, actually, Paul.
So have I. So have I. It's it was us all too much. So, this leads me to Blue Sky, which
Also sucks in its own ways.
well, okay. So here's the thing: Blue Sky is great because the frog boiling on Twitter was so bad that a perfectly functional social networking site is like Valhalla. And
I mean,
I'm sure it will like have its own.
Isn't just that a function of it just being less people? Like there's nothing inherent in Blue Sky that's
Well, it's not.
technologically different, is it?
It's not trying to ram certain.
Is it?
What?
Is it still an algorithmically
It
generated?
is. It is. And this is.
I thought it wasn't.
Oh, it's partially algorithmically generated, and this is what I get down to. What the difference?
Interesting.
If you are at never let a computer decide what you want to see.
Well, like you can actually just look at a feed of people you are following.
But if you can relegate yourself to just that, I find that most of the problems with social media sites go away.
Pretty much. It's not yet, you know, shitted up. And also, like, there's been a few, you know, promises made, which are, you know, I mean, only worth as much as their execution. But
as whichever valuation round they're on.
yeah, but you know, for now, it's at least like a refuge where social media is fun again for me, and
That's important.
I was like kind of hesitant to feel like I was rebuilding from nothing, but I'm actually now kind of enjoying it because I'm getting the kind of engagement I want.
And if you want engagement from it, that's important too.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to just like, you know, titty bots replying to tweets and like replies that I made to people like 5 years ago.
What I used Twitter for,
Yeah.
and what I still use it for, because the Japanese treat Twitter very differently than the
sure
Americans
do.
do,
Yep.
and this occurred to me in the most wonderful way.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel good sometimes to know that your particular fandom that's 40 years old is still getting brand new fan art and interaction with the fans today?
That is pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I mark out every time I see like a rare fan art.
But
Like-
every time I see a brand new image of Sailor Mass from Gundam,
I saw a Miss Brisby
yeah.
fan art and I was like, what the hell?
Okay, so Miss Brizzy, she was from this Magic School Bus.
No, Secret of Nim.
Okay, yes, no, I did see. Who was the Magic School Bus?
Frisbee.
Miss Frisbee, yes.
Frizzle.
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 Yes.
Sorry, yes.
As you know, I get to work in. I work in educational document creation. So sometimes we need to deal with fake data sets.
Okay.
For demonstration purposes.
Oh, okay,
So you're not working.
Oh,
off
like
of,
one apple, two apple, five apples.
Well, so like Mr. John Smith or Mr. so that you're not working with actual students' names.
Fakey McFakerson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, the data information they had in for their testing stuff was, what's the teacher's name? Oh, Albus Dumbledore. And I'm like, fuck that.
Hell no.
You know who's my new go-to for educational person? A Miss
Miss Frizzle.
Miss Frizzle.
Fantastic.
And if I need a second person for administration, that goes to Armin Tanzarian.
Oh, I was gonna say like, was it who was Raoul Duke's doctor's name? Why can't I remember that? I've read that book a bunch of times.
But yeah, I'm deturf wizarding my educational stuff.
Fantastic. There was an observation that like we are sort of in the sort of post-Potter return of like codgery pointed cap beard wizards.
Ooh,
and
good.
I'm stoked about it.
Hey, I'm ready.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, also, let's all learn Magician's Brick.
Mm-hmm. But to cap off your discussion about social media
Yes.
and any of this sort of discussion in the internet spaces, I will always defer to the immortal wisdom of Cam Louder. We don't always need to be making noise.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think it's time for me to light my pumpkin. How's yours looking? Are you all ready?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Can I have a look inside there? Oh, you're going to remove?
Yeah, well, let's see how it looks lit, and then we can...
Just wondering how many layers of protection around these lights I need to make here.
I'm so fucked up.
What's up?
Chat was very concerned about your elbowing your pile of seed. You've got a serious elbow seed problem.
Oh my god! I need a bowl or something. I vastly underestimated how much room Oh, this'll work.
We'll get you a bowl in a second here.
No, I gotta...
For now, let's gonna get these caps on here. And Paul, do you want to
All right.
kill those
It might need less intensity, but...
lights? Yeah, I think yours might need less intensity there.
Oh, nice owl.
Dang, that owl actually came out a lot nicer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. Well, goodbye.
Ow, ow, ow. Now that's the CCT.
Get it up a little bit.
So I just need to get it onto intensity.
Clickbait elbow?
There we go. Intensity down to, let's keep
Should I be putting my elbow on OnlyFans?
backwards. Oh yeah, that looks fine.
Oh.
Well, I like putting
Nice.
it. I like putting it backwards. It gives it sort of a little bit of a gradient inside.
It looks kind of
Holy moly, I
nice.
did not bad.
Yeah, that's toe to tip. That's an owl.
Yeah.
I like. Good idea on the eyes.
Yeah, I think that turned out really. I might have to do this negative space system again in the future.
Yep.
And yeah, your ribs are absolutely that reads as skeleton.
What? For
For
Alex, for yours, what if you took the light and just like put it, like took the top off and put the
Oh yeah, actually, I think I might know what you're talking
Like,
about.
took
I
the
don't want to
top off
handle the light because my hands
But-
are covered in schmang.
What if you just like shone the light down into it rather
Let's see how
than
that looks. That's
Ah,
not bad
yeah.
too.
So
Yeah, there we
alright.
go.
so that the light isn't actually visible inside the.
You know, it looks like an arch vial from Doom.
There we go. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Well, that's, you know what? This might be one of my favorite pumpkins that we've done here on Secret Tailor Salted Front.
Pretty good.
So, of course, a big thank you to everyone who's watching out there live, watching over at youtube.com/loadingreadylive. Yes. And don't forget that if you like what you see, check us out over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun or youtube.com/loadingreadyrun to become a member, or store.loadingreadyrun.com. And of course, you can find us all of the time on twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. Loading Ready Run. So for one more time from Alex,
Hi.
Paul,
Hello.
and myself, we're going to say we'll see you not in a fortnight. Desert Bus is happening. But
Good Lord.
after that, of course, never in Fortnite, ever forward, learning out of spite. Good night.
Yeah.